Bro, what? Yo, I don't know what's going on, bro. It's saying that we're live, but it's also saying that we're not live. I'm not sure what's going on, chat. On one, it's showing me that I'm live. On the other one, it's showing me that oh man, this is crazy. I don't know if we live or not, chat. Hopefully we're live and we good. But this is just, I don't know if it's YouTube tripping. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm trying not to get pissed off. It's literally showing me on the same interface. It's showing me that I'm live on one panel, and on the same panel on the same OBS, it's showing me that I'm not live. Anyway, man, we are here with it, man. I think it's fixed now. We are here, man. Good, great, grand morning to you, wonderful, beautiful people, man. Let's go ahead and hit this intro, man. Sorry we were late. We had some technical difficulties with the internet, and sometimes, you know, you get holes and bumps in the road, but you just got to keep going. You just got to keep moving and keep going in faith and don't get deterred, boy. I'm telling you, man. Sometimes it seems like some other powers are trying to get at you, but, you know, when them evil powers or devil powers are trying to get at you, you keep going and you keep praising God's holy name and everything gonna be good. You feel me? Ladies and gentlemen, brethren and sister, boys and girls, hermanos, mi hermanas, kings and queens, and everything in between. Y'all know what time it is. Doctor's in the house. Ain't gonna stop what we got going on. You feel me? So we are here. We are here on this. What we gonna call it, man? We gonna call it the morning after? What we gonna call it, chat? We gonna call it the morning after. The big news. We got Terence Crawford retiring, man, which is, man, that's crazy, bro. Like, it's like bittersweet, you know. It's like, I'm happy that he retired. I'm happy that he's doing what's best for him. But it's like, dang, man, it's gonna be a little void, man. You know, always looking forward to what Terence Crawford's gonna do next. Who's he fighting next? And you know, it's we usually gonna be a big fight. You feel me? And it's just like, wow, man, there's no more, man. It's like when Jordan retires, you know, or like when I don't know, give me somebody else that's iconic, you know, or Tom Brady retires, or, you know, Usain Bolt stops running. You know what I'm saying? When they retire and stuff like that, that's what it's of that cloth. Or when Floyd Mayweather retired, or well, I can't say Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao's still fighting. But you get what I'm saying? Like, when fighters are done, man, it's like, dang. You know, it's like, bro, we gotta see him back again. But at the same time, you know, you're happy for them because you want to see the fighters have all their capacities, you know what I'm saying? Mental capacities, even, you know, and be financially secure. And it seems like he is. So it's always great to see that, man. And he went out on top, and he went out with a bang. But before we get to that, though, we're going to talk about all that stuff and the fights that transpired this morning early, you know, in other parts of the world. Before we do that, though, we got to thank the Most High. So please join me and bow your heads in prayers. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for bringing us into this day. Thank you for guiding us through all the trials and tribulations that we may go through, Lord. And we just want to prioritize faith over fear, because fear could add stress, fear could add illness, fear could aid you, you know. But if you have faith, you're not worried about the outcome. You're not worried about the odds or percentages or how many people are doing or not doing what you have in mind. You're not worried about the chances. You're just focused on the vision that you have in your mind that was divine, you know, because you wouldn't put anything in our hearts or in our minds that we couldn't do or couldn't achieve. That was impossible for us. So we just want to move forward with faith and not worry about anything else besides putting you first and prioritizing your word and your holy name. So we thank you for your love. We thank you for your kindness. We thank you for your forgiveness. And we just ask that, you know, we continue to do the right thing and you guide us safely throughout our journey. Through Jesus' name. Amen. 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 Sir says, what up, sir? We got Sir Big Member in the building. Sir says, always remember, Bud beats everyone, BBE. Yeah, I like that, man. I like that, but that's too close to BBL, man. That sounds a little freaky, you know what I'm saying? We're going to pause that.
No, did he?
Yeah, we're going to pause that. BBE sounds too close to BBL. You know what I'm saying? You can't be out here freaking frog like gosh dang Pitbull the freaky dog. And I can make it rain with my hurricane tongue like la 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 la. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we gotta be careful with these acronyms, but I do like that though. Bud beats everyone. I mean, he's proven that, right? 42 have tried, 42 have fallen. came up short. And man, I will say that this is one of the best endings to a career that you could have, right? Because this is one of the best endings to a career that you could have, with his last fight beating the face of boxing as he moved up, you know what I'm saying, and Floyd Mayweather, I mean, and Saul Canelo Álvarez, right? So you can't really ask for a more dominant departure than that, you know. And as much as I like Floyd Mayweather's 50-0. I still think that Floyd is the best ever, you know. But if anybody argued that Terence Bud Crawford has that distinction, or even Manny Pacquiao has that distinction, or Saul Canelo Álvarez has a distinction, I mean, I think it'd be hard to argue Cinnamon as the best ever. But he's definitely still in the all-time great conversation. But if you want to say that Floyd Mayweather is the best or Bud's the best, I'm not gonna really argue too much for a couple weeks. You see what I'm saying? I just want to enjoy the magnificent career that Terence Bud Crawford had, you know. But I will say this though, out of Floyd Mayweather, the way he ended his career, even Manny Pacquiao, I mean, like I said, Manny Pacquiao is still ongoing, so for disregard him. But Floyd Mayweather, the way he ended his career, Bud's is better. Even though they both have the commonality of beating Saul Canelo Álvarez, they both have a commonality of being undefeated and retiring that way and having all their faculties about them. I still think that if you're talking about how they ended the career, just how they ended, you know, Floyd Mayweather ended on a guy that wasn't even really a boxer, Conor McGregor. And to this day, I don't like that fight, you know. But it is what it is. We're still seeing crossover fights to this day, you know, where you're talking about Tyson Fury and Ngannou, or Ngannou and AJ, you know, so Floyd and Conor's not the only one, and we're going to see more, even AJ and Jake Paul right now, you see what I'm saying, up and coming. So, you know, I didn't like that fight because I didn't think that, I'm a realist, bro, and I like boxing. I want to see Floyd Mayweather challenge, and I know that if Miguel Cotto, Hall of Famer, couldn't beat Floyd, Juan Manuel Marquez couldn't beat Floyd, Sugar Shane Mosley couldn't beat Floyd, Manny Pacquiao couldn't beat Floyd, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, rest in peace, you know, late great Ricky Hatton, late great Diego Corrales. I can go on and on. If those Hall of Fame fighters I just named off the top of my head couldn't beat Floyd, why the heck would I think a guy who never fought as a boxer, I don't care how many other combat sports he fought in, or any other genre of combat he fought in, he never fought as a boxer. Why would I think that Conor McGregor would be able to beat Floyd Mayweather? I feel like a lot of people that thought that, you're just dumb. I don't know how else to say it. If you thought that Conor McGregor was going to be Floyd, you're just dumb. You dumbass. Very similarly, how I feel about Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. You think Jake Paul's going to beat Anthony Joshua, then you dumbass. Yeah, you're just a dumbass. You know, it is what it is. Now, something freakish could happen. I'm not saying that, you know, Jake Paul has 2 arms. You know, he has arms, so he definitely has a puncher's chance, but you know, I just don't think that'll happen. And a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, well, Anthony Joshua got upset before by Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is a boxer. Andy Ruiz would beat the hell out of Jake Paul too. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, things can happen, but is it likely gonna happen? Nah, you know. But everything's possible. Anything's possible. But the point is, what I'm saying is that Floyd Mayweather finished his career against Conor McGregor. Terence Bud Crawford finished his career by moving up multiple weight divisions to challenge the guy who's the face of boxing and who was the undisputed champion in said division. It was his division at 168 super middleweight, Saul Canelo Álvarez. So the ending of his career, I don't really think too many people could top that, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to Terence Bud Crawford, retiring Omaha's own, the American undefeated, 3 times undisputed multi-division champion. Terence Bud Crawford has retired for the sport of boxing, walked away on top, and I don't even know how you can be mad at that, whether you like Terence Bud Crawford or not. I don't even see what you can dislike about this, you know what I'm saying, besides just being a hater. But anyway, before we get to Terence Bud Crawford and his retirement and the aftermath of his retirement, I want to talk about some of the things that transpired this morning. I also want to apologize too, because I planned on going live for the fights in Australia and Japan, but I actually forgot about it, man. I had no excuses. I just actually forgot. I got to take full accountability. I was busy all day yesterday, and I said, bro, what am I missing? I'm missing something. And it was a freaking fight with Tim Tszyu and Anthony Velasquez, and the fight between Seiya Satsumi and Nonito Donaire, man. Man, I was so mad about that. I missed those, but you know, we're gonna talk about it a little bit. We had Tim Tszyu. He bounced back, you know, with the win over Velasquez, like I said, by unanimous decision. And yeah, he bounced back to form, but we got to be fair as well too. You know, Anthony Velasquez was not really known like that. So I mean, what does that really do for what does that do for Tim Tszyu? It shows that he's not completely done. It does show that. It demonstrates that he's not completely done. It shows that he's still a player and he can still draw in a crowd, but it doesn't really, I don't think anybody will believe that he could beat or contend with any of the top guys at 154. Those being the WBO champion, Xander Zayas, who we had the pleasure of interviewing. That being the WBA champion, Abbas Barao, who we had the pleasure of interviewing. He pulled up on the show. Shout out to him. That being the IBF champion, Bakram Murtazaliev. And that being the WBC champion, who's the WBC champion? Sebastian Fundora, right? Sebastian Fundora supposed to be defending his WBC title against Keith Thurman at the top of next year. Good Lord willing, around February 21st, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have Abbas Barao and Xander Zayas. The WBA, WBO champions are going to unify their belts in January in Puerto Rico. And then we have Bakram Murtazaliev fighting Josh Kelly. He defended his IBF belt. So those guys are occupied anyway. But Tim Tszyu is just, I don't know. We know he doesn't beat Sebastian Fundora, right? He tried twice, he failed. We know he doesn't beat Bakram Murtazaliev. I don't think anybody in their right mind would think that Tim Tszyu would beat Jerome Boutsinis or Virgil Ortiz, or I don't even know. I mean, I'm not even sure people would have him over Serhii Boachuk or Brandon Adams. You know what I'm saying? So it's just 154 is a hot division. It's the hottest division in my personal opinion. Is Tim Tszyu still in the mix? Yeah, he just won, so he's in the mix, but I think he's in the lower spectrum of the mix. I don't think anybody would pick him over Israel Madrimov or guys like that, in my personal opinion. So yeah, it's good that he bounced back, but I still don't have faith that he will be back to championship form. But shout out to Tim Tszyu for getting the W. That's a good start, right? And going over to Japan, switching gears to Japan for the smaller weights, we had Anthony Alasquaga defend his WBO belt, against Kuwahara, and he had a stoppage. By fourth round TKO stoppage. So we have La Princesa is what his name is, Anthony Alasquaga. That's his alias. He defended his belts on Team Junto Nakatani, so that was good. I like Anthony Alasquaga. Good fighter there. So he defended his WBO belt. But the main event was the WBA defending the WBA champion, Seiya Tsutsumi, defending his bantamweight belt at 118 against the Filipino Flash, the legendary Nonito Donaire, another guy who we had the pleasure of interviewing. Yeah, Nonito Donaire lost by split decision, man. I think he's 43 years old. Shout out to him, man. I thought he'd put up a good showing for himself, which he usually does. I wish he would retire, but he has a passion for boxing. You can't tell a man. I would never tell a man not to be ambitious and not chase his dreams. So, shout out to him, man. He doesn't want to retire. He wants to keep on going. But Nonito Donaire is an example of somebody that I'm glad that Terence Crawford is not following that path, right? Because, I hate to see like the legendary fighters be a shell of themselves. Not saying Nonito Donaire is a shell of himself, because he still puts up a good fight and he puts up a valiant effort. But I'm just saying, we know he's not the Filipino Flash of old. You know what I'm saying? That was doing big things in the sport of boxing. So when you see the Filipino Flash, Nonito Donaire, keep fighting and not be the same, Manny Pacquiao keep fighting, not be the same, James Toney, Roy Jones, Deontay Wilder, Vladimir Klitschko, all these guys that are great fighters, you see them just fight and stay around a little bit too long and not really perform how we're accustomed to seeing them, and having taken losses to guys that we know that they normally wouldn't beat. And no disrespect to Seiya Tsutsumi, I personally believe that he has the biggest claim to being the best at 118. Not saying he is or isn't, but you have Medina, who's a champion. You have Takuma Inoue, who just won the WBC belt when he beat Tenshin Nasukawa. You have the WBA belt holder, Seiya Tsutsumi. And I just think that with that being said, you gotta favor Seiya Tsutsumi as the best, because with the departure of Junto Nakatani, he's the one that has beat one of the other three champions. It's 4 champions. So he's the one that beat one of the other 3 champions. Remember, he took Takuma Inoue's belt, his WBA belt. He won it off Takuma Inoue, and Takuma Inoue just became a champion for the WBC belt when he beat Tenshin Nasukawa. So out of the champions right now, you have Reyes for the IBF belt, you have Medina for the WBO belt, you have Takuma Inoue for the WBC belt, and Seiya Tsutsumi for the WBA belt. It's 4 different champions. I would love to see some unifications, but if you had to put your faith in one of them being the best, I think Seiya Tsutsumi, because he has a win over one of the other champions. So shout out to Seiya Tsutsumi for a split decision win over Nonito Donaire. But I also think it's safe to say that with a split decision victory over a guy that's 43 and you're in your prime, I think it's safe to say that the Filipino Flash would whoop that ass if he was in his prime. But he's not. So shout out to Seiya Tsutsumi, you know what I'm saying? Now let's get to it, man. Let's get to the main topic, man, and that is Terence Bud Crawford, bro. This man has retired. Shout out to my guy Pugilism in the building. What's good? He said, not surprised at all. MFer Bud Desperado has left the building. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. I think it's great that he retired, man. Don't forget to smack that like button for your boy. I think it's great that he retired because we talked about this, right? We talked about what his options were. His options were good options, good position to be in, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, but Bud has to do this, or we're waiting for him to fight this rival. I mean, he fought his rival, who was Errol Spence, 2 years ago, right? Then he moved up to 154 after he claimed undisputed at 147 for a second undisputed belt. You know, he moved up and fought Israel Madrimov, who was an undefeated WBA champion at 154, you see? And then he moved up 2 weight classes, which is unheard of. Some would argue 3 because we still saw him as a welterweight, but he had 1 fight at 154, so technically 2. He skipped over 160, went to 168, challenged a guy that was the man in Saul Canelo Álvarez, you know, Cinnamon being the face of boxing. And a lot of people thought that he would lose, right? I doubted him. I thought that he would lose, but I thought it was a great fight. I wasn't disrespectful with it. I wasn't saying, oh yeah, well, Terence Crawford has no chance. Oh, he knows he like Abel Sanchez. You know, it's so funny that all these people that said he had no chance of winning are now discrediting his win. How can you discredit a win when you said he had no chance to win in the first place? You said he had no chance to be victorious. I said that I was going with Cinnamon, but I never said he didn't have a chance. I thought it was going to be a great fight. I just thought Cinnamon was going to be too much for him. And eventually, I think I said a 10th round TKO or 10th or 11th round TKO in favor of Cinnamon. That's what I said, you know, and I was wrong. But I give Terence Bud Crawford all his credit because I thought he could win. Just like with him and Errol Spence. I thought it was a 50-50 fight. I just leaned towards Errol Spence. And both times, the only 2 times I bet against Crawford, well, not figuratively bet. I didn't put money on it. I would never put money against Terence Crawford. But the 2 times that I didn't go, that I thought he would lose, he proved it wrong. I mean, he proved me wrong. But all the other times against Yuriorkis Gamboa, I picked Bud. I picked him over Victor Postol. I picked him over Amir Khan, Sean Porter, you know. So, but the 2 times... hey, he proved me wrong. So shout out to Terence Bud Crawford, man. I think that he has he's in the conversation as being one of the greatest of all time. He's definitely the greatest, the best of his era, you know, which would be this era. He proved that when he beat Saul Canelo Álvarez. But yeah, him retiring is no shock, and I'm actually happy for him and proud of him that he could walk away, and because that takes strength. You know, you're doing something all your life and you just suddenly stop, you're gonna have like a void. So, you know, hopefully we'll see him around more. I think we'll still see him in like in the capacity of an interviewer or capacity of a commentator or something like that. But as far as a professional fight, see him in the capacity of a professional fighter in a sanctioned match, I don't think we'll see him again. Hopefully he sticks to it. But, you know, we have people that think he will. Like Jake Paul said, he doesn't think he's gonna retire. Jake Paul thinks he's gonna come back. I think he could come back, but as an exhibition. I don't think Terence Bud Crawford doesn't seem like a guy that is wishy-washy, you know what I'm saying? Once he makes a decision, that's it. But, you know, hey, you can make a decision. There's someone throw 100 million in your face, which Turkey Al Sheikh is known for. You never know what could happen. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to count it all the way out, but I do think that it's I think out of all the people that retire, like most recently that we see Gervonta Tank Davis say he was retiring. Those are different, right? Shakur Stevenson said he retired. Devin 80 said retired. Ryan Garcia said they retired. Teofimo said retire. Those are different because those are guys that were frustrated or in different parts of their life, but they were still in their prime. Bud is not in his prime. You know what I'm saying? He's 42-0. He did all he could do. The first 2 times undisputed in the 4-belt era on the male side. Then Usyk and Inoue followed suit. And then now he's the first and only 3 times undisputed in the 4-belt era on the male side. You know, we can't say the first ever because the first ever to do it was Clarissa the Goat Shields. You know what I'm saying? One time for the ladies. You know, but the first to ever do it on the male side is Terence Bud Crawford. So, you know, he's just in a different, he reached the pinnacle of the sport, and I do think that he'll retire. So a lot of the people that we see that are wishy-washy with retirement, like Tyson Fury, you know, the Gypsy King of obesity. He that's my guy right there. I like Tyson Fury, but he retires. Another one who retires out of frustration. He retired because he lost to Usyk and blamed it on the Ukrainian war. Like, bro, we got to stop it, man. You know, so like Terence Bud Crawford is at peace with it. He's retiring in his own terms. He's not retiring after he lost. He's not retiring after a decline. He's not retiring after being disgruntled about not making enough money. You know, he's retiring because he feels like he completed the mission. So that's different. So you got to factor that in as well. So I do think that Terence Crawford may stay retired. And the last time we saw him was against Saul Canelo Álvarez. And he possibly one of the best fights ever. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Terence Bud Crawford, man. I salute him. And I'm just glad I was able to watch him. And I'm glad I was able to meet him. Like a lot of people don't realize that. Obviously, I don't know him personally like that, but I met him before. I received the autograph from him. He's actually on the outro. Every single time I close every video on the outro, you see me with Terence Crawford, or you see a picture of Terence Crawford in there, actually signing an autograph from me. You know what I'm saying? In addition to other fighters as well, like Juan Manuel Marquez and some other people in the outro. If you just pay attention, Terence Crawford's there. So shout out to him, man. Dope dude, dope brother, man. I'm happy for him, man. The Omaha's own, the American undefeated, 3 times undisputed multi-division champion, Terence Bud Crawford, man. Pleasure, man. So let's talk about some of the aftermath of what could happen with the Terence Bud Crawford, leaving another division as the man, as the king, right? So we seen him do that with 140. He was undisputed, left. Saw him go to 147, undisputed, left. 168, undisputed, left, right? So now we have a lot of things that could happen, particularly Canelo. My boy Cinnamon, who, as you know, is one of my favorite fighters. He wanted to pursue the rematch, so I know he's punching the air. But I actually think it's a blessing in disguise because, like I said, as much as I like Cinnamon, I think rematches in boxing, 9 times out of 10, probably more so 9.5 times out of 10, the better boxer is favored in the rematch, because you can see the better boxer usually has better adaptation skills, has better ability to adjust. Canelo Álvarez is a great boxer too, but Terence Crawford, being the smaller guy, beating Cinnamon, he only did that by being the better boxer. So it was 2 all-time greats collided, and they're both still all-time greats in my opinion. But Terence Crawford's just a tier above when it comes to the greatness, right? So I think that he would beat Canelo in a more even more convincing fashion in the rematch, just like we saw Andre Ward when he beat Kovalev, more convincing. He's the better boxer. We see Floyd Mayweather do it to Maidana. He's a better boxer, even with Castillo and everything, so usually the better boxer usually wins. Now I'll say, like, we have some outliers, right, where you would say like Frazier Clark and Fabio Wardley, who's the WBO champion at heavyweight. Frazier Clark's the better boxer between him and Fabio Wardley, but Frazier Clark is not on that world level. So that's the difference there. But Frazier Clark got smoked in the rematch, right? They fought to a draw the first time. The second time around, Frazier Clark got smoked in like the first round, right? It leave him with a stanky face. So I think that's a little different because they're not world level. But usually when you see world level rematches, the better boxer typically wins, and wins in a better fashion than he did in the first fight. So I think it'll be the same with Canelo. So, but the reason why I say it's a blessing in disguise, because, like I said, I think that he would lose. But Canelo, I've always said this, I still think the same. I think just off the strength of themselves, I think Canelo's still the face of boxing. I think it's yet to be seen. We'll be able to make a better assessment once he has a fight since losing. But I still think people are anticipating his return. I still think he's the biggest name at 168. You see what I'm saying? And I still think that he could become a title holder again. And this actually gives him the best opportunity to be so, because the WBA interim belt holder is Armando Resendez. Caleb Plant's one of my favorite fighters again. When Armando Resendez beat Caleb Plant, I still think that's the upset of the year. And I think Armando Resendez is a good fighter, but I don't think anybody in their right mind would pick Resendez to beat Cinnamon. And Cinnamon is conveniently ranked number 1 in the WBA. In fact, he's ranked number 1 in all the sanctioned bodies besides the IBF, and he's ranked number 3, only behind Ozzy Iglesias. Ozzy Iglesias is ranked number 1 in IBF. Number 2 is Vacant, and number 3 is Cinnamon, right? But for the WBA, where Armando Resendez will likely get elevated, right, because he is the interim belt holder after beating Caleb Plant, Canelo could fight him, and I think he'll beat him, right? And then you have other interim champions like Christian and Billy and things like that with the WBC and the WBO and things like that. But I just think that Canelo being number 1 in the WBO, WBC, and WBA, I think is pretty much written that he's still going to be a payday for somebody, so we'll see how it goes. But I will tell you this, though. A lot of people are going to be mad that Canelo will have opportunity to be a title holder, and I think that they're crazy. I think that Canelo deserves it, right? If we see Ryan Garcia take a L to Rolly Romero for the WBA belt, right, then turn around and get a WBC title opportunity with the WBC belt holder Mario Barrios, and Ryan Garcia has never been a champion, why doesn't Cinnamon deserve the same opportunity, the same privilege, right? We just saw, I know people don't pay attention to the smaller weights, but at bantamweight, I just talked about this earlier in the show. Takuma Inoue, Naoya Inoue's brother, pound for pound, top 3 fighter, king, and Naoya Inoue, his younger brother, Takuma Inoue, he literally just lost his WBA belt to Seiya Tsutsumi. And then he turned around his very next fight, no win in between, his very next fight, and got a title shot against Tenshin Nasukawa. and he beat Tetsuya Nasukawa. That's why he's the WBC belt holder. So if somebody that's relatively unknown and mostly known because of his brother's greatness now anyway, if Takuma Inoue could get a title shot coming off of a loss, and Ryan Garcia could get a title shot coming off of a loss, why can't the face of boxing who's been undisputed multiple times get the same privilege? I mean, I'm just asking. So before you get upset about things, I'm not saying that you can't be upset about Canelo getting a title opportunity, but you got to keep the same energy for Manny Pacquiao, who took a 4-year hiatus. We ain't seen him in gosh dang 4 years, half a decade almost. And he comes out of nowhere at 46 years old and he gets a title shot with Mario Barrios. And he had a draw. And then the rumors are that with a draw is not a loss, but he got a title shot over everybody else that was in the rankings, right? Hopefully through merit, but you know how the rankings go, politics, right? Politricks. He's getting another title shot. Rumors that he'll get another title shot with the WBA belt holder, Rolly Romero. So if he could get one and be inactive off his legendary, but he get one, even though he's inactive, despite being inactive, he still gets one based off his legendary status, which he deserves as well. I like Manny Pacquiao, one of my favorite fighters of all time. You get whatever you deserve. You know what I'm saying? You deserve whatever you could get, rather. Then Canelo definitely deserves a title shot too, coming off of a loss, because he was the last one that was undisputed. And it's not like he didn't want the rematch with Bud. It's that Bud denied him of the rematch because he retired. So why shouldn't Cinnamon get a title shot? You know, it's just like people pick and choose when they or are outraged. I mean, even let's go to Vasily Lomachenko. Lomachenko, everybody brags about, oh yeah, Lomachenko won a belt in his 3rd fight. Okay, the Matrix is good. I like Lomachenko. But people so conveniently gloss over that he lost a title shot his 2nd fight. So it's like, it's just so always amazed me that people will brag about certain people being a title holder so fast and being able to get a title, to win a title. But then you conveniently gloss over the fact that some people are permitted with more title opportunities than most. How many people got a title shot back to back and had a title shot in their 2nd professional fight and then get another title shot in their 3rd professional fight? So it's like, yeah, you could say, oh yeah, he won a title in his 3rd fight, but I can guarantee you that a lot of other fighters, if they had back to back title shots, whether it was a 2nd fight or 3rd fight or 4th fight, knowing what we know of them now, they probably would have won a belt too, and probably wouldn't have took a loss in the meantime. You see what I'm saying? So we have to tell the whole story. I'm not knocking Vasily Lomachenko. I'm not knocking Pacquiao. I'm not knocking, well, I don't like Ryan Garcia. He shouldn't have the opportunity. But if he's going to get it, I'm not mad at it. But at the same time, don't tell me that Canelo doesn't deserve a title shot after all the things that he's accomplished. Like, you're crazy. Shout out to Split Decision Boxing. He says Christian and Billy. He called him Christiana and Billy. This man's disrespectful. He said Christiana. I know that was a typo, but guys, dang, get my boy name right. He said Christiana and Billy. Lord have mercy. Christian and Billy is what he meant. He said gets elevated. Yep. Shiraz versus Pacheco for the WBO. Yes, that's likely how it will proceed. Yep, but we'll see, man. You never know, because boxing is crazy. But yeah, that's the likelihood of how it's going to move forward. He said Canelo versus Resendez for the WBA, Oscar Iglesias versus Callum Simpson for the IBF. Yeah, that's what it looks like according to the rankings. But like I said, once again, the rankings, people, hey, the sanctioned bodies pick and choose when they want to enforce things, and they do it conveniently based on who is up for the opportunity. You see what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that is the likely path moving forward for the belts at 168 and how it will get carried out. Shout out to my brother, Split Decision Boxing, man. Also, too, I want to add to that too. I want to show you this real quick, chat. I want to add to what you said about who'd you say? I think you said Resendez and Canelo, right? That, to me, that makes the most sense. But I want to show you this as well. Sometimes we forget about these things, and this is over a month ago I said this, chat. This is I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to touch on this anyway. Look at this, chat.
Back, and I'm gonna tell you why I don't like it.
So this is in regards to the WBA belt after Resendez beat Calum Plant, excuse me. We were just talking about Callum Simpson. But check this out. This is what I said over a month ago, chat.
Rumored to come back.
You see the date right there.
I'm going to tell you why I don't like it, though.
November 5th.
Because he's rumored to be fighting Armando Resendez. And you'd be like, Doc, what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? It's great. You got a Puerto Rican American versus a Mexican, you know, Puerto Rican versus a Mexican. That's great for boxing, right? You love that rivalry, right? You got Edgar Berlanga coming off of a loss, fighting Resendez, who just had an upset win over Caleb Plant. It's great, right? No, it's not great. And I'm going to tell you why it's not great. Because Edgar Berlanga's coming off of a loss to Cinnamon. Then he had a bounce back loss against, what's his name, Jonathan Mantequilla.
Sorry, not a bounce back loss. I meant to say a bounce back win over Jonathan Mantequilla Gonzalez. I meant to say a bounce back win, not a bounce back loss.
Which is Jonathan Gonzalez, right? AKA Mantequilla, and his body looked like melted butter. It was soggy. He was supposed to win that, and then he lost to Hamza Shiraz. Got stopped, right? And now he's going to get a fight against Resendez. And you'd be like, Doc, what's the problem? You got to remember, Resendez is an interim title holder, specifically for the WBA. Meaning that if Berlanga beats Resendez and Terence Crawford retires,
which he just retired, right? We didn't know what he was going to, like I said, this is over a month ago. We didn't know what Terence Crawford was going to do. We don't know what Terence Crawford is going to do.
Or goes to 160 or goes to 154 or has a rematch with Canelo. That means that Resendez, or Berlanga, the winner of Berlanga Resendez will get elevated to a full champion. I think that's terrible. I don't think Berlanga should get spoon-fed. I like Berlanga. I don't think you should get spoon-fed opportunity. He does not deserve an opportunity at the interim belt.
And that's how I feel about that. I still maintain that. I don't think he deserves opportunity, not off of what's been going on, you know, but don't be surprised if Berlanga dances his way to a title opportunity. Hey. Shout out to Berlanga, man. You know I rock with my boy Berlanga, so I wouldn't be mad at it. But I will say that he's not in the WBA rankings right now. He's not high in the rankings at least. So it doesn't seem like that to be likely. But like I said, once again, you never know. Like if you pay attention to boxing, you know that the rankings are, especially when you talk about the WBC and the WBA, the rankings are based less on merit and more on financial backing of the fighter. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, man. But I do think that the likelihood, how it will move forward and progress from here on out is exactly with Pacheco and Shiraz. For that fighting now, Shiraz and Pacheco is a good fight, man. I think that's a good fight. I don't know who wins that, man. I don't really think that Pacheco's been looking good. He is young still, but he ain't that young. You know, Brian Norman and Pacheco are the same age, and people are very hard on Brian Norman for taking the L right now, and he lost to a great fighter in Devin Haney. Pacheco has been looking shaky, you know, against Trevor McCumbee. He did enough to win. He didn't look that spectacular in his last fight against, who did he just fight? Kevin Lely Sadjo, who was an undefeated Frenchman, you know, Cameroonian Frenchman, who had some big power, put him on his back pockets. I don't mind him being put on his back pockets, but I'm just trying to look at what I'm focusing on is how he handled the situation, and it doesn't get any easier than Kevin Lely Sadjo or Trevor McCumbee or Steven Soko Nelson. It's going to get more difficult, you see what I'm saying, as you're going up, because 168 is not too deep, but it's very top heavy. Like we talked about Christian and Billy. We talked about Hamza Shiraz, who his best with is Edgar Berlanga. Hamza Shiraz could still be a little overrated. We'll see. He's getting a lot of motion out of beating Edgar Berlanga, who Edgar Berlanga hasn't really beat anybody himself, right? The biggest claim that Edgar Berlanga, as much as I like him, his biggest claim is going the distance with Cinnamon. So we have Hamza Shiraz though still. We have Christian and Billy, but we can't forget about the guy who fought Christian and Billy, right? The Guatemalan Lester Martinez. I think Hamza Shiraz and Pacheco's a good fight. I would lean towards Hamza Shiraz slightly. I think Christian and Billy and Pacheco's a good fight. I think Christian and Billy beats Pacheco. And I don't think Pacheco or Team Pacheco is too confident in fighting in Billy because according to what's been documented and reported, that Pacheco and Christian and Billy were in talks to fight twice. And both times, Pacheco walked away from the negotiations. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that he's scared. That does not mean that he's scared. I'll say it again. It does not mean that he's scared. It does not mean that Pacheco is necessarily ducking in Billy. It doesn't mean that anybody's ducking, but it does mean that he's not as enthused as fighting Christian and Billy, as Christian and Billy is allegedly enthused to fight him. So I think he loses to Christian and Billy. I think Pacheco also loses to Lester Martinez. I think Pacheco beats Berlanga. I think Pacheco and Jamal Charlo would be a good fight. I think Pacheco with Caleb Sweethand's Plant will be a good fight. I think Resendez and Pacheco would be a good fight. I would lean towards Pacheco, but you never know. Ozzy Iglesias, I think, beats Pacheco. So I'm not really sure how they got to move Pacheco. accordingly. Let me say that because I don't want to make it seem like they're, anybody's ducking or anybody's scared, but they have to move him accordingly, you know what I'm saying? Or else it could get dark for him. Shout out to my brother Average, someone, big member in the building. But yeah, man, I just think that I think that with this new move, man, with the retirement of Terence Bud Crawford, the 168-pound king, pound for pound king, one of the greatest. I think that it's 168 is wide open right now, and I think Cinnamon is up to Cinnamon, man. I'm not gonna lie though, too. Don't be surprised if Canelo retires. Don't get it twisted, man. I hope that Canelo doesn't turn into one of those fighters that just keeps going. I mean, he always said that he wanted to retire too, right? He said that he wanted to be done by like 37, I believe is what he said. He's not too far removed from that. So you never know. I think before he said 35, then he said 36, he said 37, I believe. But he's not too far removed from that age. So hopefully he does retire sooner than later. But what if he retires too? Because remember, he wanted a major motivating factor for him was the fact that he regrets not being able to fight Floyd Mayweather again, right? And try to avenge one of his losses. So that's why he was so hell-bent. He was like, man, I'm not going to have the same regret. I want to rematch Terence Bud Crawford. And Terence Bud Crawford retired on his ass. So, and of course, Bivol still there. He can still go and try to get that revenge. But I just think that as much as I like Cinnamon, I don't see him beating Bivol again. I don't see him beating Bud again either. Opportunity there or not. So I just think it might be best for him to retire after. I think he should retire on top though. After acquiring a belt. I don't think he should go for undisputed again, even though I don't think that's impossible. At 168, I definitely believe he could get undisputed again. You see what I'm saying? He can undisputed again. But I think, man, just go ahead and go after Resendez. You're already ranked number 1 the WBA. I think that is the easiest. No disrespect to Armando Resendez, shout out to him. But let's face it, right? I think he's the easiest opportunity to get a belt at 168 right now for Canelo, and just stylistically speaking. And I just think that's the right move to go. Let's pull up the rankings right here. Let me pull up the rankings. Yeah, so right here. So you have the IBF, right? Ozzy Iglesias. I think Cinnamon beats Ozzy Iglesias too. But that'd be a nice little fight, right? WBA. I think Cinnamon would beat Resendez, right? And Beck the Bully. Like, what if let's say Resendez decides to vacate his belt for whatever reason. I don't think he would, but let's say he does. Then you could fight Beck the Bully. Beck the Bully, didn't he lose to Gabriel Rosado? So that's an easy fight. Nobody above you, with Resendez being above Canelo and Beck the Bully being below Canelo. That's an easy fight for Cinnamon. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's the best way to go. The WBC interim belt holders, Christian and Billy. I think that's the hardest fight between out of everybody here. And then, or he could fight a vacant belt. For the vacant belt, the WBO with Hamza Shiraz. And I think that's a winnable fight as well, but I think that's harder than Resendez. So I think Resendez and Beck the Bully, the WBA route provides the easiest path to a belt. And I think once you acquire that belt, then you skedaddle, man. I mean, what else is there to do for Cinnamon, man? That's just my personal opinion. Me though, I don't like to see fighters, whether you're James Toney or Manny Pacquiao or Nonito Donaire or Roy Jones or Vladimir Klitschko or Deontay Wilder or whatever other fighter that was great, fight too long and be a shell of themselves. I don't like to see it. So hopefully Cinnamon considers getting up out of there too, man. Average someone says the way Canelo was talking after he lost to Bud, I thought he was going to retire then and there. Yeah, facts. Me too. He said if Canelo's going to retire soon, I hope his last fight is Benavidez. I'm not mad at that either. Average, you know me. I want Benavidez and Cinnamon to fight. I've always wanted that fight, but not right now because, like, we have to be honest, and I like Benavidez. I like Devin Haney. I don't dislike them, but Benavidez is one of my favorite fighters. Gervonta Tank Davis. My top 3 fighters right now, my favorite fighters are Cinnamon, Gervonta Tank Davis, and Junto Nakatani, Caleb Sweethand's Plant, Terence Bud Crawford, Alexander Usyk. I like those guys a lot, but I really like Canelo and Gervonta Tank Davis. The reason why I bring them up is because Devin Haney. I'm not saying this in a negative connotation. I'm just saying what it is. Devin Haney and David Benavidez are probably they're what we would consider weight bullies. I don't say a weight bully because they're not like Janabek, right? Janabek is really a weight bully in a negative way because he misses weight. Virgil Ortiz is also a weight bully because he misses weight, right? Who's another one? Janabek, Virgil Ortiz, just to give you off the top of my head, Ryan Garcia, who misses weight, right? David Benavidez has missed weight before, but he usually makes weight. Same with Devin Haney has never missed weight. So as far as the confines of the sport, as far following the rules, you can't call them a weight bully in a negative way because they're not they're abiding by the rules, right? They're making weight. Whatever you do afterwards, you negotiate that. Or if you're the IBF, right, you have to abide by the IBF 10-pound rehydration clause for the morning of the fight. But I say that to say that Devin Haney notoriously comes in big compared to the weight class that he fights at. Same with David Benavidez. Case in point, like I said, the reason why I brought him up, because Gervonta Tank Davis, people want to see Tank fight Devin Haney, but then they also say, oh, don't use a rehydration clause. But then they'll also say, oh, well, Devin Haney shouldn't come in so big. Bitch, a rehydration clause is there to balance people not coming in too big. So you can't not like a rehydration clause and also not like weight bullying. You got, that's, you know what I'm saying? They're there to counter each other. You feel me? So I think that Gervonta Tank Davis fighting a guy who Gervonta fights at 135, if he was to fight Devin Haney, who's a champion in WBO at 147, 2 weight classes above, he would need a rehydration clause. You see what I'm saying? That's just how it should go. I personally feel like everybody, all the sanctioned bodies should employ what the IBF does and have a rehydration limit for the next day of the fight. I think they should have same day weigh-ins, in my personal opinion, but I know that comes with danger too, because fighters, like some fighters, would abuse it and then potentially put themselves in danger, like Chris Eubank Jr. employing methodologies to drain weight that are at the detriment to their own well-being. So, you know, some fighters will make it dangerous for themselves, but at the same time, that's a choice. I don't think other fighters should be held accountable for your choice of trying to be physically imposing so much that you are going to drastic measures of potentially fainting, you know, to have a fight. So I say that to say with David Benavidez, it's the same thing as Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis as it currently sits. If David Benavidez and Canelo were to fight, then David Benavidez absolutely would need a rehydration clause. David Benavidez is about to fight Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez in May. Zurdo's at cruiserweight. Not only is David Benavidez a WBC light heavyweight champion, 175, he's talking about going up to fight Zurdo Ramirez, who's a unified champion at cruiserweight. Canelo fights at 168. So you're gosh dang right he would need a rehydration clause, because David Benavidez is clearly bigger than where he fights at. Way bigger. I'm not saying that every fighter does it. You know, every fighter. I'm not knocking any fighter. Every fighter does that, right? You know, they use it to their advantage, but some do it a lot more. And some people are just, that's part of your character trait, right? Some people are able to lose weight and rehydrate more quickly than others. That's one of your advantageous aspects of your being. Everybody can't do that. So I'm not knocking people for using that method, but at the same time, we have to be honest too and say what we see. David Benavidez was probably at 168 way longer than he should have been, and he's not saying that he doesn't want to go to 168 because he's tired of having a physical advantage. He's saying that he doesn't want to go to 168 because it's hard for him to make 168. So I don't think Canelo and Benavidez should fight anymore. But would I like to see it just off the strength? Of course. I always want to see Cinnamon versus David Benavidez back when they were at 168 together. And I think that Cinnamon would win. But right now, nah, I think David Benavidez, the bitch, he can make cruiserweight, bro. There's nothing else to say. He's about to fight the cruiserweight unified champion Zurdo, you know, so there's nothing else to say. You know, Sir said EJ a weight bully too. I don't think so. I think it's different because when you say a weight bully, so this is my opinion. Like I said, I don't say it in a negative connotation. To me, it's one thing to make the weight. It's another thing to make the weight and then go up in a new weight class your very next fight. We haven't seen EJ struggle to make weight. You know what I'm saying? It's different if like he was struggling to make weight. It was different if we seen him fight at 154. We never seen him fight at 154 yet. So like I said, it's natural to like don't get into like I used to box at the amateur level, right? I walk around at 150. I boxed at 140. Am I a weight bully? No, but like when you get in boxing shape, you're naturally gonna lose weight, bro. When you get in basketball shape, when you get in track shape, football shape, you're naturally gonna lose weight. So this notion that you should fight at the weight that you walk around at is stupid. You're not gonna fight at the same weight that you walk around and gallivant through the woods or kumbaya through Costco going grocery shopping with your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever it is. You know, you're not in shape, right? So you shouldn't fight at your natural weight, but you should fight around a weight that's comfortable. That's why Floyd Mayweather is such a beast. He's one of the few fighters that fights at weights that's close to his walk around weight where he's comfortable. You don't really see him sunken in and his eyes poking out and looking like the crypt keeper like we've seen David Benavidez, like we've seen Devin Haney. You never really seen EJ like that either. You see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't call EJ a weight bully. Like everybody, even if you talk about Inoue, you see him when he slims down too. Right? Now Inoue could probably fight at 126, but he fights at 122. When he was fighting at 118, he was kind of big for that as well. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying it is something that people practice, but some people do it way more than others. You see what I'm saying? Like, for example, Virgil Ortiz, I have no doubt that Virgil Ortiz could fight at 160. Janibek, I have no doubt that Janibek probably should be fighting at 168. I have no doubt Edgar Berlanga could fight at light heavyweight. You see what I'm saying? You know, so I don't, like, for example, like even Shakur is a little bit big for 135, but I don't think he's a weight bully because he makes 135 fine. Shakur and Tank making 135 is different than Devin Haney and who else? Give me somebody else. Than Devin Haney and I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody. Teofimo making 135. It was different. So you can see it. That's what I think is. I'm not saying that. Like I said, I'm not saying that to knock them. I'm just saying that if you could make a weight class, 2 weight classes above to where you talk about fighting at, then we have to be honest. You're a little bit of a weight bully. Yes, but once again, sir, like you just proved my point. He said EJ fight camps were fat camps by his own word. Yes, meaning that he's losing weight. Because losing weight from what? He's not losing weight from where he walks around at. He's not losing weight from another fight camp. He's losing weight from where he walks around at. Yeah, they're fat camps, exactly. So once again, you're losing your natural weight to get in boxing shape. To me, that's not a weight bully. You see what I'm saying? Like, that is, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. It's like Ricky Hatton, right? Rest in peace, the late great Ricky Hatton. They used to call him what? Ricky Fatton, right? Because he would go all the way up to 200 pounds. Because of his lifestyle when he's not boxing, right? He would binge drink and stuff like that. I mean, to his own admission, like we were talking about people's own admission, right? He would get big and get out of shape. But then when he fights at 140. Was Ricky Hatton a weight bully? No, I don't think anybody would call him a weight bully. But everybody doesn't live a healthy lifestyle and be in shape 24/7, 365 like Floyd Mayweather. That's why he's so great. You know, there's some fighters that stay. Terence Crawford is another one that he stays relatively in fight shape. You see what I'm saying? Even though he can get bigger too as well, because you know he wrestles and other things like that. But to me, if you don't miss weight and you're not walking around 30 pounds above where you fight at while being relatively in shape, then I don't really think you're a weight bully in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? Ryan's definitely a weight bully. Yeah, that's a better example than Teofimo. Ryan Garcia, that's a great example, sir. But see, with Ryan Garcia, you can't argue he's a weight bully because he never makes weight. Ryan Garcia, people always talk about, oh yeah, well, Tank drained weight. Ryan Garcia fought, before he fought Gervonta Tank Davis, who did he fight? He fought Emmanuel Tagoe. What weight class did they fight at? It was a catch weight. The fight before that was Javier Fortuna. What weight class did they fight at? It was a catch weight. So the fight that he fought before them was Luke Campbell. What weight class did they fight at? They fought at 135. So he fought at 135 against Luke Campbell, no problem. He fought Javier Fortuna, and he claims that they had a catch weight not because of him, but because of Javier Fortuna. Javier Fortuna requested it, but it was still originally scheduled as a lightweight bout at 135. Then he fought Emmanuel Tagoe, and once again he said that it was Emmanuel Tagoe's request to fight at a catchweight, but it was originally scheduled for what? 135. Then he fought Gervonta Tank Davis at what weight class? It was supposed to be 135, but they fought at a catchweight at what? 136. But people blame Gervonta Tank Davis for draining Ryan Garcia. No, Ryan Garcia was draining himself. And Gervonta Tank Davis gave him an extra pound to help him out. Because Ryan Garcia has never officially fought at 140 until when? After Gervonta Tank Davis. Look it up, chat. I don't make this stuff up, bro. I don't make this up. He fought at 135 before Gervonta.
Yeah.
He fought at 135 when he fought Gervonta.
Yeah.
And he didn't fight at 135 he didn't fight at 140 until after Gervonta.
Yeah.
So how the heck could Gervonta weight drain somebody that is listed as a 135 pounder? That's Ryan Garcia's fault, trying to be a weight bully, right? And then he fights, who did he fight after that? He fought who? Oscar Duarte. What did he do, chat? He missed weight. Didn't he miss weight against Oscar Duarte?
Yeah.
And then who did he fight after Oscar Duarte? He fought Devin Haney at 140. And did he make weight? No, he missed weight by 3 pounds.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a habitual weight bully that people will try to say, oh, Gervonta Tank Davis weight drained him. What? How did he weight drain somebody that was listed as a 135 pounder and he gave him an extra pound? People don't tell the whole story, man. People don't tell the whole story, bro. You know what I'm saying? Ryan Garcia, and then his next fight after missing weight against Oscar Duarte, and then missing weight against Devin Haney, he fought his very next fight at 147. So this man hasn't made weight in 5 fights until he went to 147. So how could a guy that was fighting at 135, missing weight at 135, missing weight at 140, and then he doesn't make weight until he gets to 147, how can you simultaneously say that that guy has ever been drained? So you saying Ryan Garcia and weight drained in the same sentence, I have to look at you like Bill Haney.
What the fuck does that mean?
I got to ask you what that means, because that literally doesn't make sense. How could he be weight drained if he was literally? You can't weight drain a weight bully. You can't weight drain a guy that's been listed at a weight class. You know what I'm saying? It'll be weight draining if a guy never fought at that weight class, or he wasn't listed as a fighter of that weight class. He was ranked and listed as a fighter of said weight class. So that's up to him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Virgil Ortiz. I'm gonna use him as another example. Virgil Ortiz, people say, oh, well, he was hospitalized because of rhabdomyolysis. Bitch, do you know what rhabdo is? You don't know what rhabdomyolysis is, because if you knew what rhabdomyolysis is, and the way that, to his own admission, he obtained the illness, he obtained it because of strenuous workouts. And he said, oh, it's because I work so hard and I don't know when to stop. No, you're working so hard because you're trying to lose weight. And that is a cause of rhabdomyolysis. It's strenuous workouts when you don't have too much liquid in your body, too much water content in your body, because you're draining yourself. So people feel bad. Oh yeah, he had rhabdo, I was hospitalized. It was self-inflicted. Have you ever heard him complain about rhabdomyolysis since he's been at 154? The answer would be no. So people don't like what I talk, but I mean, it is documented, bro. It makes sense. And some people don't like the truth. They like to believe whatever narrative they're trying to kick. Virgil Ortiz had rhabdomyolysis due to his own drastic measures that he employed trying to make weight at 147. 154, has he ever complained about rhabdomyolysis? No. Because that's a weight that he could comfortably make, or more comfortably make. I still think he should be at 160 probably. And the only time he complains about weight is when Bakram Murtazaliev was brought up. Oh, I don't want to fight Bakram Murtazaliev because of weight loss. Because you know that Bakram is an IBF champion and you can't be above 10 pounds the morning of the fight. You could blow up after, but the morning, he can't be, he is worried about weight. He's not even confident that he could be 164 the morning of the fight. That's a weight bully, bro. Janibek is another one. Janibek fainted and was hospitalized because he was trying to make weight against Andre Mikhailovich at 160. They say, oh, he was hospitalized. Oh, I feel bad. Feel bad for what? This is self-inflicted. I'm not heartless. Of course I want Virgil Ortiz. I want Devin Haney. I want Janibek. I want all David Benavidez. I want every fight. Terence Crawford, Gervonta Davis. I want every fighter to be healthy. But at the same time, I'm going to save my sympathy for people that are in emergencies that could not be avoided. Virgil Ortiz and Janibek could have been avoided. They're just trying to make weight so desperately that they are causing harm to themselves and being hospitalized and having fights canceled, like the fight that was canceled with Virgil Ortiz a couple times, like the fight that was canceled with Janibek against Andre Mikhailovich. It had to be rescheduled because, why? Because he was a weight bully. He needs to fight at 168, but he's scared of guys that are his size. These are facts. And that's why he's taking PEDs too. The man's a weight bully that also, on top of being a weight bully, he also takes PEDs. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
We do not let people who are on the juice discuss real athletes. That's all.
Shout out to my brother Thomas in the building. What's good, my brother? Shout out to my guy, who had Pat Bandero, big member in that building. And shout out to OGQ. He says, F a rehabilitation clause too. Crawford dispelled that. Yeah, shout out to Crawford. And that's why what Crawford did was so gangster, right? Because he did not put a rehydration clause on Canelo, and he probably should have, right? But he was like, hey man, you know, I believe in my skills so much that I don't need that. But I want to be very clear though. Put on a rehydration clause, there's nothing wrong with wanting stuff to be on an even playing field. Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that people could abuse that as well. Don't get me wrong. Just like people could abuse being a weight bully and coming in and be way more physically imposing and having a physical advantage over their opponent, people can use a rehydration clause to drain their opponents too. I'm just saying that if you're going to pick an example of somebody abusing a rehydration clause, I think you should look a little bit deeper than Gervonta and Ryan Garcia, because that is a terrible example. That's a terrible place to plant your flag when you're saying that a guy who is habitually, frequently, often, and consistently, back-to-back consecutively known to be a weight bully, I think that's the wrong place to try to say, oh yeah, rehydration clauses are bad. No, if you're going to put a rehydration clause on anybody, it would be Ryan Garcia. You probably need to put a racist clause on him too, where you can't use racism. And you might want to put a gosh dang no PED clause on him too, where you can't pop dirty. So y'all planting y'all flag on, oh, Gervonta, wait, drain Ryan Garcia. You sound stupid. It just sounds like you don't know boxing. Because if you knew boxing, then you would know that Ryan Garcia has a history of missing weight and using weight to his advantage and fighting at catch weights. So if you can't fight at a weight class that is predetermined by the divisions that are set in boxing, then I think that that type of person needs a weight rehydration clause. Unless you just want to willingly put yourself in a disadvantageous position voluntarily, which doesn't sound smart at all. You see what I'm saying? Shout out to my guy Literary Pharaoh in the building. What's good? He said trying to fight at the most smallest weight is unhealthy. Facts. That is unhealthy. He said I believe fighting close to your walk around weight is much healthier. Yeah, I think when we say that, I think we more so appropriate to say the fight at your in shape weight, not your walk around weight. But I mean, yeah, it's just tomato. Shout out to my guy Pat. He said rehydration clause weight drains fighters though, in my opinion. Eubank, but see but again, Pat, once again, you're using an extreme case. Eubank, once again, what was that? Conor Benn is ranked at what division right now, Pat? Shout out to my brother, my Congolese, French, Nigerian, Belgian, Swedish, American. I'm gonna just give you every nationality. Filipino, brethren, Pat Bandero. My boy, Mr. International, man. My boy, he represents every nationality, man. But shout out to my Congolese, French brethren, Pat Bandero. He says that Chris Eubank Jr. is an example of weight draining, right? Yes, but that is what? He's fighting a guy who's ranked, Conor Benn is ranked at 147. That fight should not have went down in the first place. So, of course, somebody was going to be at an extreme disadvantage. It just happened to be Chris Eubank Jr., right? So you agreed to these measurements. I agree with you that that's an example of being weight drain, but those aren't two guys that are in similar divisions, right? To be fair, Conor Benn hasn't fought at 147 since Chris Van Heerden in 2022. Yeah, I'm like a boxing encyclopedia. I'm a beast, I know. But he hasn't fought at 147 since 2022. But if he had a home division, you would put him at 147, right? Chris Eubank Jr. was talking about fighting Canelo at 168. So of course there's going to be a rehydration clause there. We're not talking about those extreme cases. We're talking about guys that campaign at the same division, but they usually abuse the weight, a la Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, bro, let me pull it up, bro, because I feel like y'all think I'm playing. let me pull up Ryan Garcia. I don't even like looking up this this racist bum, but let's do it, right? This is what I'm talking about. Ryan Garcia, right? Look at this. I just scroll to 2019. He fought Jose Lopez at where? 135. He fought Romero Duno, 135. He fought Francisco Fonseca, 135. He fought Luke Campbell, like I mentioned, 135. Right? Then he fought Emmanuel Tagoe, originally scheduled at 135, but they fought a catchweight at 138. Then he fought Javier Fortuna, originally scheduled for 135. They fought a catchweight at 140. Even though the division is 140. They fought a catchweight at 140. Then he fought Gervonta Tank Davis at 135. So he, at this point, bro, I can go further, right? He has been at since 2018, he's been at 135. So why do people say that Gervonta Tank Davis weight drained a guy that's in his division? You know why he weight drained him? He put a clause on him or weight drained him? Because he needed a catch weight for his fight before that against Javier Fortuna, and he needed a catch weight his fight before that against Emmanuel Tagoe. Ryan Garcia, people don't mention, he's never fought above 135 until after Gervonta Tank Davis. And then after Gervonta Tank Davis, like I said, he fought Oscar Duarte. And you see the weight, 143. This was supposed to be at 140. They fought another catchweight at 143. Then he fought Devin Haney, and he notoriously came in with the 3 pounds and the PEDs. But we're not focusing on the Nandrolone and the Ostarine. We're just talking about the weight. He came in at 143 for a 140 fight. He fought at 140 twice and never made weight. So why wouldn't you put a weight? That's like saying, oh, a guy has a history of robbing people, but I'm gonna invite him to my house. and not shackle him up. Come on, bro. That's just stupid. The only time he made weight since Luke Campbell. So the last time he made weight was in 2021. His first time making weight was in 2025, 4 years later, and that was at 147. That's what I'm talking about. So is it really that the guy was weight drained, or he was finally fighting at a weight class that he was supposed to fight at? So that's the difference. Shout out to my guy Rick Timms, big member in the building. So yeah, that's the difference, man. Shout out to my guy Thomas. He said, let them plant it. It merely shows their ignorance and hate for the little fella. Doc, come on now. It shows their hate for him. You know what I'm saying? That's a fact.
Yeah.
Where my GTD chains at? Where are my GTD chains at? So yeah, so some people do get weight drained. Ryan Garcia was never weight drained. He's a habitual weight bully. You know what I'm saying? That consistently gets the benefit of the doubt. Like, I mean, he just lost the WBA belt. He came off a suspension, right, for being 60 times over the legal limit of ostarine by the New York State Athletic Commission, right? The New York State Athletic Commission allows a threshold of 0.1 nanograms per milliliter of ostarine. The man tested at 6 nanograms per milliliter of ostarine. Simple math, that's 60 times the limit. And people are saying, oh, well, it was accidental or it was a trace amount. No, there's nothing trace about being 60 times the limit. You try to be 60 times over the sobriety limit when you get pulled over and take a breathalyzer. You try to be 60 times the speed limit. You see what happens. You're going to be put under the bing. They're going to close the door. You ain't going to see the light of day. You feel me? 60 times over any limit is crazy. And people still try to make it seem like he didn't do anything wrong, right? So he comes off a suspension for cheating another guy after being overweight. Then he gets a title opportunity with the WBA. He loses that. Then he gets suspended for using racism by the WBC. And then the WBC uplifts the suspension, says he was rehabilitated, and immediately gives him another title opportunity with the WBC welterweight champion, Mario Barrios. Hey, Ryan Garcia got the juice, man. He got the juice. He could do no wrong, bro. Hey, Ryan Garcia and Trump are very similar. They could do no wrong, bro. They could walk in your house, slap your mama. You gonna make an excuse for him. Shout. But that was a great conversation though, Pat. Shout out to you. Thomas says, man, just listen to this good and unbiased boxing talk. Well, man, I appreciate you, bro. Shout out to you, man. Thank you so much, Thomas. Big salute to my brother, Mr. Thomas. 1 pound, Thomas. Let it sink in. 1 pound. 1 pound, bro. 1 pound. Over. He said, Pat says that Ryan's rehydration was acceptable, but if someone is drained to the extreme, it's too much. I trust even Tank would have smoked Eubank Jr. Like I said, those are two different situations. That's the point. Eubank has never fought. Conor Ben has never fought at 168 or whatever it was. Chris Eubank could fight at West. He was talking about fighting Canelo. You're talking about two different situations with rehydration clauses. That's the point that I'm making. You know, so Chris Eubank Jr. rehydration limit, that's an extreme. That's like talking about a rehydration limit that AJ has on Jake Paul. Nobody cares, bro. That's not, AJ and Jake Paul don't fight in the same division. To me, it's ridiculous to call foul for somebody having a rehydration clause for people that are in the same division. We should look a little deeper and see why they're doing it. And for Ryan Garcia, that was done to Tank because they fought in the same division, and Ryan Garcia has a history of habitually abusing the weight because he literally doesn't make weight, but he fights in the division in which he doesn't make weight in. Same could be applied to Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz, go look at 147. How many times did he miss weight? So that's different. AJ has never fought at cruiserweight. So it makes sense even for Jake Paul to put a rehydration limit on him. He can't be above 245, right? He did that because they never shared a division. It's different. Like, I don't really understand how people get mad at the guys that put rehydration limits on guys that fight in their weight class. Because yes, I'm not saying that you have to like it, but there's a reason for it. It's a reason because if you look at the guys that get rehydration clauses put on them and they fight in the same weight class, they have two things in common usually. Number one, they probably missed weight sometime in their career multiple times. And number two, they're probably not fighting in the IBF. And why do you think they're not fighting in the IBF? Because the IBF doesn't allow you, well, they allow you to blow up, but they make you abide by a rehydration clause. So even the sanctioned bodies do it. Look at the California State Athletic Commission. Even they implement a percentage of a rehydration limit. They say, oh, you cannot be, I believe it's 12 or 15% above the contracted weight limit. That's a rehydration clause. So when people say rehydration clause, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you can't abuse that too. Yes, like you said, with the Chris Eubank Jr., that was abused. But it also made sense because they don't belong in the same weight. So you can't have a guy come in 100 pounds more than you, bro. Like, unless you're going to heavyweight. That's why heavyweights get respected so much, because that is the only weight class where a bitch should be coming in 50 pounds more than me. Because they might just be naturally bigger, taller, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, like Usyk or whatever. So heavyweight is unlimited. The other weight classes are limited. So it makes sense, bro. Because technically the weight divisions have weight clauses. You can't be over this weight. So that's the whole point. That's the basis of which boxing is separated. So that is what it is, man. So he said, shout out to Topics. He said, drawing power makes ninjas impervious, I suppose. Yeah, I guess so. Shout out to Topics. He said, yeah, Eubank was crazy to fight those fights on Ben's terms. Yep. The second fight was harsher on his physical body than was the first. Yeah. Which was visibly tough on him. Yep. The second should have been at 168. Man, I'm not gonna lie. I don't like it. I'm with Pat. I don't like the weight clause for that fight, but I also don't. I thought that I didn't like the fight. I'm on. If you go back and watch the video, hey man, shout out to the live show, man. This is the 500th episode, chat. 500, baby. But yeah, I think that fight should not have happened in the first place. But I don't think that it should happen and not have a rehydration clause. I disagree with that. I just think that fight should not have happened because they're not in the same weight class. And I've said that before. I said I think that Conor Benn and Chris Eubank was a stupid fight. I've always said that it shouldn't happen. But I think that you're also equally ridiculous to think that if a fight between a small guy and a big guy is gonna happen, that there should be no weight limit. Huh? So on one hand, you're saying, oh, the small guy has an advantage because of rehydration clause. But then on the same hand, you're saying that the big guy should have the advantage by having no rehydration clause. No, the fight just shouldn't happen. That's why we have weight classes in the first place. That's why Naya Inoue is not fighting Gervonta Tank Davis, because of weight classes. That's why Gervonta Tank Davis is not fighting, I don't know, Xander Zayas, because of weight classes. That's why Xander Zayas is not fighting Hamza Shiraz, because of weight classes. So that's why we have weight classes. So big guys aren't fighting small guys and vice versa. So I don't know what's so hard to realize about that. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, Thomas. I agree with you 1,000%. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's why we have weight classes. So when you have these stupid catchweight fights, these fights that are so drastic in weight differences, then I mean that kind of takes away the I guess you would say the integrity of the sport, right, Thomas and Pat? It questions the integrity of the sport, right? Yeah. But I don't think that it's enough to just say, oh, this person is a weight bully because they're tall or stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I think sometimes we conflate things, like things that are similar as the same. It might have some resemblance, but it's not the same. You know, shout out to Pat. He said I was gonna say that about the 500. Yes, sir, man. Shout out to you, Pat. I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, man. Big 500th episode, man. So we doing our thing, man. We gonna keep going and growing. You feel me? So yeah. I definitely think that there should be a balance. Like I think the IBF does a good job as far as having the morning of weight limit. But anyway, I don't even know how we got on this. That was a good conversation. I like that conversation though. It's a great conversation, man. Oh, also too, I forgot to say it. It is 12 o'clock, chat. The Doc's Quarter 6th episode, the sixth issue of Doc's Quarter just dropped. The link is in the chat. Go ahead and sign up for the newsletter. Those of you that are signed up already, big salute. You know, it's a free boxing newsletter that drops every week. You know what I'm saying? Once a week on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the 6th episode just dropped. You know what I'm saying? The 6th issue just dropped, man. Check it out. You know, and you know what it's about? It's about not blaming the fighters. That's what this issue is about, man. So check it out. Doc's Corner. The link is in the chat. It's a free boxing newsletter. Get it while it's hot, baby. You know what I'm saying? If you like real boxing talk, you know what I'm saying? And not the narrative Twitter bull crap that people say from a disingenuous and uneducated standpoint and a very biased standpoint, man. We keep it funky. Like a donkey and a chunky monkey. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, man. So yeah, that's all the topics I really had. Oh no, I do have one more topic that I wanted to discuss. I wanted to discuss with y'all too, man. There's a rumor, and I talked about this too before, but there's a rumor that Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, like I said, an emphasis on the rumor. This is a rumor, pretty strong rumor though. It's being circulated the speculation is being circulated that Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy could be losing their their partnership deal with DAZN. And they're saying that in the summer of 2026 their contract will expire, and the broadcasting giant that is DAZN, broadcasting boxing giant that is DAZN, is not interested in renewing that partnership. And so I think that this is I think it's kind of bad news. It's good news and bad news, right? It's good news because it'll give Golden Boy fighters more freedom, but it's bad news because I don't think that the freedom is an issue for Golden Boy to make these fights, right? I don't think these platforms, the broadcasting platforms or the varying broadcasting platforms, are really an issue, right? Because obviously something's going to have to, somebody acquiesced, right? Whether it's PBC or Golden Boy, right? Because Mario Barrios is fighting Ryan Garcia. Mario Barrios is a PBC fighter. Ryan Garcia is a Golden Boy fighter. So Mario Barrios being the champion, it's in all likelihood is going to be on Amazon Prime, which is the broadcasting distribution company for PBC, right? So these things can be worked around, right? Even with Anthony Joshua or Jake Paul, the reason why that fight was originally scrapped and Jake Paul pursued Gervonta Tank Davis was because he first initially targeted Anthony Joshua, but Anthony Joshua has an exclusivity deal with DAZN via his promoter Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. But you see, once the fight fell out between Jake and Tank, they had to spin the block, and go back to Anthony Joshua. And you see it's happening on Netflix. So they made a deal between Netflix and DAZN and Matchroom and MVP and Eddie Hearn and Jake Paul to make this fight happen. So these things can be circumvented, right? Even the Russian and Belarusian ban, where the WBC they didn't want to have any Russian fighters fight for their belt. Turki Al-Sheikh gets a lot of credit. Because why? Because he made Bivol and Beterbiev happen despite the Russian and Belarusian ban that the WBC had and the other hindrances and obstacles that had to be overcome for that fight to happen, right? So it seems like money solves a lot of problems that can't be overcome otherwise, right? So with DAZN, if Golden Boy loses the DAZN deal, though, the reason why I think it's troublesome is because, there's two big fights that I want to see that involve Golden Boy and Matchroom. And that is Ja Bataya, who's represented by Matchroom. Well, he's by Tasman Fighters, but Eddie Hearn still has a hand. He's not exclusively with Eddie Hearn, but Eddie Hearn has a hand, right? So anyway, and Ja Bataya did not fight his last fight on DAZN, right? That was like his first fight not being on DAZN in like 4 years. I think that's his first time he wasn't on DAZN when he fought Sakara, since he fought Maris Bradis the first time, Ja Bataya. So, but anyway, the fact that Golden Boy is not on DAZN anymore, and that's a commonality that they had, I think that makes the fights between Virgil Ortiz and Boots even harder. I think it makes the fight between Zerto and Ja Bataya even harder, So I think that is the bad news with it, whether you like Golden Boy or not, you want to see them fall or not. I'm not sure that's it's something that we should be rooting for. But what adds to that rumor, though, what strengthens that rumor is this. I want to show y'all this real quick. I want to show y'all this with Virgil Ortiz's promoter, right? You know that they say like the people are putting pressure on fighters to have certain fights, right? Like broadcasting deals, like Netflix. A lot of people are saying that Netflix put pressure on Jake Paul to go back to Anthony Joshua once a Gervonta Tank Davis fight fell through due to reasons outside of the boxing ring, right? Well, I want to show y'all this. Here's another example of the broadcasting companies putting pressure on fighters to make fights happen, And so sometimes when fights don't happen, it's not just a fighter, right? Sometimes it's the promoter, sometimes it's the manager, sometimes it is a fighter, sometimes it's the broadcasting companies. But I want to show y'all this real quick. This is a promoter. Here you go. So this is a promoter of what's the name? Virgil Ortiz, Rick Meridian, right? Dan Rafael said that this is not going to happen. Per source, DAZN has dibs on Ortiz's fights. Will not allow that fight to happen. They're talking about Ortiz versus Spence because Ortiz wanted to fight Spence for whatever reason, right? Yeah. DAZN is exerting intense pressure on Golden Boy to get the Ennis fight done, right? And then this is Rick Meridian, who is Virgil Ortiz's promoter. He made this long, gosh dang, J.K. Rowling size Harry Potter novel about why he's mad that they want him to fight the Ennis fight. So let's read it together. He says, "Dear DAZN executive, On what planet did you think saying these kind of things about my fighter were okay? And doing it in public to a very credible reporter, Dan Rafael. He said, aside from this being maybe the most ignorant thing to do while negotiating the biggest fight in the sport, Ortiz and Ennis, it's also meritless, false, and you don't own my fighter. Now you may get away with these tactics with the rest of the guys that have brain dead managers, drunk dads, no options, or people scared to your intimidation. But trust me when I say you should read our contract before you say another single word, or should be fired for these comments. I'm making these mannerisms because this is the fervor and the attitude which I believe he had while typing this. He said, I understand you actually said you will force our promoter and apply intense pressure on them to do what you said. But guess what? You can't force us to do anything. If I need to stick up for them also, then I guess I will, since no one else is, and they have enough pressure like us daily. We have a contract. It's ironclad. And let's see how far you get now, talking like you're a slave owner and these fighters are objects on a board you are moving around at your own will. These are human beings. These are human beings. They bleed in that ring and die in it. I agree with what he's saying. But I'm going to get to why I disagree adamantly. He said, chew on that next time you think, well, let's go back. He said, these are human beings. They bleed in that ring and die in it. Chew on that next time you think you could talk like this and get away with it. I assure you that you won't block us from fighting. You won't force us to fight anyone, and you won't tell us where and what platform we could fight on. I never make these things public, or have I in 15 years. But if you are going to make these things public, then let's have some fun. You won't want to see what gets said next with receipts. We could fight behind closed doors like men and try to get our deal done, or we could fight it out for the world to see. Please keep it for the world to see, because I'm interested. I want to know. He said the world to see. As you won't like that, as you will have a lot of explaining to do for people that will be expected to pay an extra $480 a year in a few weeks, and none of what you said will take place. And for the record, this fighter has fought everyone put in front of him. Well, not everyone, but okay. Definitely not everyone, which is why you're going on this tirade. So he definitely didn't fight everyone, which is why you're ranting right now like a little bitch. But anyway, he said, and for the record, this fighter has fought everyone put in front of him. This fighter has never failed a drug test or embarrassed the network. He didn't fail a drug test, but he missed weight a couple times, or embarrassed the network. This fighter doesn't drink. He said, don't drink, but I think he meant doesn't. He said, this fighter doesn't drink, smoke, or party, or beat women. This fighter is possibly without question going to be the face of the sport, and he meant to say your, as in you are, not your. There's a difference between your and you are. I don't know why we don't know that. But anyway, and you're going to fumble it all. He earned his position, and you will respect it. So once again, that is Rick Meridian, who's the manager of Virgil Ortiz. So basically he's saying Virgil Ortiz has done everything to satisfy the contract, and he's fought everyone. Well, he hasn't fought everyone, because if he fought everyone, then he'll be fighting Jerron Boots Ennis. So that's a lie. That's number one out the gate. But number two, what's most alarming is that he put all that out to basically say that they're not fighting Jerron Boots Ennis. Bro, just say you don't want to fight Boots, bro. Like, I don't have to read an encyclopedia length novel of excuses of why you're not fighting Jerron Boots Ennis. If you really wanted to fight Jerron Boots Ennis, like y'all said y'all did, right? Because y'all claimed that they denied you twice, right? Which I don't even know why we're still living in the past. If they denied you twice, what's up with now? What does denying you twice have to do with fighting now? You said all that to say that you don't want to fight Boots. Like, what does that mean, that they're not slave owners and you can fight whoever you want and you fought everyone?
What the fuck does that mean? Like,
what does that mean? You just took a long scenic route to tell us that you don't want to fight Boots. Like, literally, that's all that was. All they said is that they want Ortiz to fight Ennis. They don't want to see Ortiz versus Errol Spence. Why would you want to fight Errol Spence anyway? Errol Spence, we haven't seen him in 2 years. Last time we seen Errol Spence fight was at 147, and he got beat from pillar to post by Terence Bud Crawford. So we haven't seen Errol Spence fight in 2 years. Errol Spence hasn't even fought at 154 yet. Errol Spence doesn't even have a trainer. Errol Spence coming off of his first loss. Errol Spence is coming off his first loss by stoppage. Those are 5 reasons why you shouldn't want to fight Errol Spence if you're really that good of a boxer and you claim that your client is going to be the face of boxing. I like Virgil Ortiz. I think he is a beast. I think him and Jerron Boots Ennis is almost a 50-50 fight. But why are you're putting up more of a fight to not fight Ennis than you are to fight Ennis. So, I mean, it just screams that somebody's not confident in their client. And I think it's Rick Meridian and their side not being confident. So basically what I'm showing you is that Rick Meridian, who represents Virgil Ortiz, is beefing with DAZN. And then there's rumors that Golden Boy and DAZN are not going to re-up their partnership in 2026. So all this is adding fuel to the fire that there is something going on between Golden Boy and DAZN, and it's not advantageous to Golden Boy as far as them renewing their partnership deal or contract with DAZN. So all this stuff looks worrisome, man. Like I said, go check out the newsletter. I talk about this, that we blame the fighters, but there's a lot more powers at play. I'm not saying that Virgil Ortiz is scared of Boots. I'm not insinuating or implying or even saying that Boots is scared of Virgil. I'm saying I want these fights to happen, and I think it is bigger than Boots and Virgil. But I think that Boots and his side definitely wants to fight Virgil more than Virgil wants to fight Boots. Don't forget to smack that like button if you haven't done so already, man. I appreciate it. He said, and if he has fought everyone, he would have a belt by now. Exactly, Pat. Exactly. He wouldn't be an interim belt holder. He's a WBC interim belt holder, and he said he doesn't want to fight Bakram because it's the IBF and the rehydration clause. So, and Fandora said he was willing to fight him, but they didn't want to fight. So he said, Average says if Golden Boy leaves the zone and the zone still hikes the prices, that's a BS. That's a fact. That is a fact. Bullshit. Bullshit. Pat says that is duck talk. That is true, Pat. That sounds like duck talk to me. Thomas says, yo, Doc, you ever find out why our names are appearing with the app? No, I don't know. Is it just my channel, or are you noticing it other places as well? Or is it just my channel? I didn't bring up the chat the whole time. My bad. If it's just, yeah, I don't know, bro. I just thought it was something with YouTube tripping. But no, I'm not sure. That's a great question though. Let me know if you find out. Pugilism says, usually it's the losing fighter holding on to yesteryear. Come on now. That gets forced into retirement. Sign of the times. And good to see OG Floyd, Ward, Bud go out on their own terms. I agree with that. But yeah, good question, Thomas. I don't know. But yeah, I think they will still hike the prices though. But I don't think, I hope Golden Boy doesn't leave, but at the same time, isn't it funny that we talk about PBC dying, but we just saw Top Rank. We saw 2 Top Rank fighters on PBC. Well, thanks to Janibek being a weight bullying drug cheat, we didn't see 2 fighters on the PBC card, but we were supposed to see, right? We were supposed to be Janibek. It was supposed to be Janibek, who's a WBO IBF middleweight champion, facing Arislan Lara for his WBA belt, who's a WBA middleweight champion on the PBC card, right? So Top Rank, who had to deal with ESPN, they're sending a fighter in Janibek to PBC, Amazon Prime. Then we also saw Oshiki Foster, who's a Top Rank WBC 130-pound champion, fight Fulton, who's a PBC fighter, on Amazon, right? So Top Rank has sent 2 fighters to PBC, even though PBC was dying on Amazon, right? And then now I think we don't know yet for sure, but I think it's safe to assume. We don't like to assume, but being that Mario Barrios is with PBC and he's a WBC title holder, I think it's safe to assume that Ryan Garcia will be going over to Amazon as well. And he's a Golden Boy fighter. So going over there to die with PBC on Amazon. That's what people say, right? You're dying on Amazon with PBC, but it seems like Top Rank and Golden Boy, I guess they're running to the graveyard too, because they most likely are going to PBC and Amazon. It's just funny, the narratives people saying and the things that they conveniently like to talk about and omit, right, when it fits their narrative or it doesn't. So if you want to talk about real boxing, you come into the right place. Tell your mommy and your auntie and your grandmama and your brother and sister, them that like boxing, man, and your friends. Share the channel, man. Share the channel. We have the most holistic boxing talk, the most unbiased boxing talk, the most educated boxing talk, and the most fun too. Yeah, like to have fun as well. So I like to debate. I like to have fun. I like to talk trash. But chat, man, I'm about to go ahead and call it, man. Shout out to Terence Bud Crawford. Shout out to Terence Bud Crawford, man. Is he the best ever? I think he's the best of this era. I don't know if he's the best ever, but he's definitely in that conversation, man. I think he's in that conversation with Floyd. He's in that conversation with Sugar Ray Leonard. He's with that conversation with Sugar Ray Robinson, Roberto Duran, Manny Pacquiao, whoever else you up throwing there, Muhammad Ali, Rocky Marciano, Big George Foreman, rest in peace. Everybody you ought to put in there. You cannot talk about the greats in boxing and not mention Terence Bud Crawford, man. Is TBC, Terence Bud Crawford is TBC, TBE? I don't know if he's the best ever, but he's definitely one of them. And if you do anything and you're considered one of the best, job well done. That's a job well done. And Pat Bandero says Bud's coming out of retirement. He's coming back. I don't know, man. He might. Maybe in the capacity of an exhibition or something. But he might. Hey, money talks, man. He might still come back out of retirement and face Canelo in September like originally scheduled. That could be part of the plan too. You never know. So I appreciate y'all rocking as always, man. I'm about to go ahead and slide, man. Big 500th episode, man. I appreciate y'all. Sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done so already. The link is in the chat, pinned to the chat. And yeah, man, don't forget to smack that like button. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. And without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace.
From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold, we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.
For your listening pleasure, we are now on Spotify under Dr. Boxing Talk. The same thing on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, everything. Dr. Boxing Talk, man. Come rock with us. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.